Hello everybody and welcome. I'm your host Captain Awesomeness, and today after a long hiatus, I'm not going to talk about karting. I'm not going to talk about my passions. I just need to talk to you guys about mental health. I think that's the best way to start with this. I'm even going to title it this way, mental health. Let's talk about it. The thing is, you guys, some of you know who I am personally. You've met me. Some of you guys who are watching this have served with me. Some of you guys have worked with me. Some of you guys just hang out with me, just different folks and different ways with which I've been able to interact with you all. But the thing is, in the end, I am a human being. I have my faults, I have my positives, I have all of that stuff. And it's just that for me, for the longest time, I have struggled a lot with keeping my mind focused positively towards a goal, a purpose, a task, and it's all related to many of the things in my past and how I have an issue with letting them go, and how I even interpret or I guess even perceive when people say certain things to me about what they really feel, and how it causes confusion. Sometimes I actually do take it the right way when people say certain things, and I have a hard time processing what to do. So some of you know I am a veteran of the United States military. I served in combat. I was in the military for a total of 12 years. I had an honorable service, got to meet great people, and continue to do the same with those on the outside, non-veterans and veterans alike. But the thing is that I have hit a roadblock, and this roadblock has been difficult for me to come out of. I first had a mental block almost for 6 years, and that was right when I left active duty in 2012 all the way to 2018, and then all of a sudden I hit a block again in 2022, and here I am with you with a cart that should have been closed up a long time ago, and I haven't been able to because zero motivation. That's really what it comes down to. Why is that motivation zero? It's because mental health. It's very important to talk about, but for some reason in our society, we think that we need to tough it out as men and all that stuff, which, yes, up to a point, that's right. But when there is a clear indication that somebody is showing lack of motivation, they're not excited about things anymore, they're not as engaging, talk to them. I'm not it's a good way for you to be able to convince somebody that that they might be thinking of something the wrong way, and get them to think positively, help them become the people that they can be, because not all of us can self-actualize. It's just how it goes. And for me, it's been that way. I'm not going to talk about certain things, though I think I kind of need to, so I'm going to start by saying this. First of all, at the end of the video, if you feel sorry for me, you failed, or rather I failed in getting the message across as to what the point of this video is. Second of all, take this as an inspiration for looking for people around you or for yourself as to what you should do if you are in a situation that makes you wonder, what the purpose of whatever it is you're doing is. And that's where I was stuck for quite a while. So let me just kind of backtrack a little bit and talk about my past, and then kind of go into where I am today. All right. So I have been in the United States since 1999. I immigrated here with my family back then. I've brothers and my parents and all that. But anyway, went through college and went through the horror that 9/11 was. Not like I was there, but there were some spillover effects of 9/11, and those of you who don't look like the typical American, as you would want to call it, did go through some rough times, but still made it through. I had a lot of anger from that, because this was a country I wanted to call home, and I was here. I was living the American dream. I was finishing up college. I had great aspirations and desires to get into so many different things, and all of that was kind of put to a halt a little bit by that event. But then I decided that, I love this country. I know what this country's already done for me without without even asking for me to do something in return. So I'm going to join the military. And that's exactly what I did. 2006, I joined the United States Army. I served honorably for 6 years. I went to war twice to Iraq. There's great people that I got to serve with. And, I'm a lifelong friend of lots of folks that I got to serve with. To this day, I talk to them. Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, you name it. There's always something that we talk to each other about. Went into the reserves, which was kind of honestly, I didn't like the reserves anyway, but still honorable service. That's all there is to it. It was no combat time. It was just kind of local. That's it. So there's not much I can talk about with the reserves. But again, met a lot of great people that I still stay in touch with now. So nothing but good stuff. However, that doesn't mean that bad things didn't happen even when I was in the military. There were people who had a problem with me because of the way this thing looks. And they couldn't get past that. However, the lucky thing about that is that I learned a lot from them on what not to be like. And the good part about being in the United States Army is that majority of the people do not act that way. It's just that the few bad people, their behaviors, their statements stuck with me longer for some reason than those who actually had nothing but positive impacts on my life. And it took me a while to get past it. And I'll just give you a couple stories. There were people, I had a female company commander when I was a lieutenant, and there was a brief that I was giving prior to our unit's deployment to Iraq, and I was talking about culture of the Middle East, the religion of the people in Iraq, and the different ethnicities that exist within Iraq, because I happen to have that experience. I know a little bit about Iraq as it is. I won't say from where, but yeah, I did. So in the middle of my briefing, one of the soldiers got up and asked a question. I don't exactly remember what he asked, but my female company commander, before I could say anything, stopped me and said, "All Middle Eastern people look alike." And she says this in in front of a battalion of soldiers. A battalion is about 800 to 1,200 soldiers, and she says that to them. And I, as a lieutenant with a senior ranking officer, what could I say? I then just shook my head and I said, well, there is more than one people in Iraq, and there are more than one religion in Iraq, and this is the facts about it. And I kind of left it until, of course, other soldiers made the complaint and all that. But luckily, this female company commander did not deploy with us. Glad, gone, whatever. I don't know where they went, and I don't even care. But then when I deployed, there was a lieutenant who had a problem with me for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason was, but he made it clear that he did not desire my presence within the company headquarters, the company that I was in. Did a couple things. The biggest one was one time I came into the company headquarters and I saw all of my gear thrown out of his office, while all the other lieutenants who were in our company had their gear still sitting the way it was. So I knew that this person had a problem, took it to my company commander, who for whatever reason didn't do anything about it. Never got an apology, by the way, by either the previous company commander I had or this new lieutenant who had a problem with me. Skip a couple years, I'm a captain and I'm in a higher staff level, and I work for probably the biggest asshole I've ever worked with in my life, racist piece of shit. This guy had a problem of his own. I don't know what it was, but many times he would say stupid shit to me and I would ignore it. But one time, I was in brigade headquarters, so now I'm at brigade level. I went from company to a little bit of battalion time, but then I was in brigade level. And this asshole walks up to me and grabs me by the collar, pushes me up close, and then asks me to explain the foreign policy and the thinking of the armed forces of Pakistan. And I have no fucking clue, excuse the language by the way, as to what the hell he's talking about. And I told him, sir, take your hands off of me right now. And that's a major, I'm a captain, but I had no choice and I had to say something about it. And long story short, he lets me go. And then I was like, sir, first of all, United States Army. Second of all, you do that again, we're gonna have bigger problems and I'm gonna forget that you're a major. And he didn't know what to do at that time, but obviously it showed that he had a problem with me. And other incidents happened that caused me to then say, you know what, screw it, I'm taking it to the equal opportunity folks. And I talked to our equal opportunity NCO, brought it up to him, but for some reason, This major also got away with it. Actually, this piece of shit actually got to retire as a lieutenant colonel. I, at that point, said, I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. I'm getting out, but not because of this stuff, but just because I was getting tired of deploying, and I just had enough. I loved the Army all the way up to that point, and I still do now. It's just that those particular incidents, you know, kind of made me think of things a certain way, but then I had to kind of break away from it and remind myself that's okay, because these were 3 incidents versus thousands of different interactions I've had with everybody else who didn't have a problem with me, and obviously still don't, because I still stay in touch with them, so all is good. But then came the transition to civilian life. This is where I wasn't prepped for the kinds of things people will do, say, and think, and all this other shit. And you know, it just came as a shock to me. I mean, look, the thing is, no matter what part of the world you go in, you're going to deal with ignorant people. And in America, we have ignorant people as well, but they're not that many. And if somebody wants to say something else about that, that's their problem. But for me, it's always been net positive. But anyway, on the transition side of things, I met with people and I got to meet them. And I still ran into people who had never served, but for some reason, maybe because of the way I look, I don't know how else to explain it, would question whether I was a veteran or not, and would ask me to prove that I was a veteran. There was this one guy who was a manager in a poker room in the local casino here, who supports veterans, but for some reason he believed I was a veteran, and asked me to show my ID, and I showed him my military ID, but at the time I was innocent. I think I was stupid or whatever. He sees it, and then he's finally okay with you know, convincing himself that okay, this guy is a veteran, and he never said anything to me. But then this happened more and more. I would wear an Iraq War veteran hat. I remember entering this establishment, and this guy walked up to me and snatched my hat off, telling me I don't deserve to wear that hat, and called me names and this and that. Luckily, there was a police officer there who happens to also be a friend of mine, asked me what the hell happened. I was like, I don't know what this guy's problem is. This guy then tells the cop that he was a Vietnam veteran, and how dare I wear that hat. And then my buddy, who again happens to be a police officer, goes, hey dumbass, read his hat. And it said Operation Iraqi Freedom Veteran. So that guy just felt embarrassed, and he didn't know what to say. He actually apologized. He said, I'm sorry, I was hot, I don't know why. When I looked at you, I just thought that you were posing, you're a fake veteran, and I couldn't do it. And that's when I was like in a big shock. I'm like, wow, this is kind of weird. What it is about certain folks that makes them think that they have the right to even infringe upon one's liberty to be a human being. Like, have an interaction with them, talk to them, ask them, see if you can handle things, and you know, kind of work out differences. But that's what happened, and it really was weird, you know. And it has happened a couple times since then, but nothing like this, you know, where people are physically doing something. It's still something that I, you know, kind of keep in the back of my head. I have my stuff from combat that also was working hand in hand with this, and I started to cocoon myself from the outside world. I even made some friends who actually backstabbed me, so I didn't want to be around them either. So it got to a point where I had no friends. Even in the civilian working side, I worked in many different companies, and I couldn't find stability because I just didn't understand how to work in corporate America, which, by the way, in my humble opinion, is an absolute disaster, full of people who want to do all this politically correct bullshit, and people who want to hide behind certain things, and people who are looking to backstab anybody just to get them fired so they can go for that position, all that jazz. It's a very, very bad place to be. I will never ever join corporate America ever again if I have the power to do so. I'm happy where I'm at, and I couldn't be happier. But anyway, up to 2018, things were kind of rocky. Then I met my wife. Then I got married to her, and things were on the up and up. Things are great. I'm loving life. I have a purpose, a person to provide for, to protect, to shelter, all that stuff, and I'm happy ever since. You know, there's no complaints about that. Knock on wood. Hold on a second. knock on wood, and I couldn't ask for a better situation. Then on top of that, to add to all the good things happening, I got to meet the Racing for Vets team. I got to pursue my passion of go-karting in Pakistan in 2021. Like, everything's just working out great, right? And it was just awesome. However, even with the fact that I was part of a great team that I enjoyed being a part of, there were people who are outside of Racing for Vets at the place we were racing at who said and did certain things that I don't want to talk about here, but they kind of have something in relation to the things I've already talked to you guys about. I led that to the side because at first I'm like, you know what, ignorant few, whatever, I don't care. I'm here for these other guys that are veterans, and they're awesome people. They treat me like I am, part of the brotherhood. That's exactly what I've been going after, so I'm going to stay with them. But then there was some other drama that happened within the team that I don't want to talk about, but I just said, you know what, instead of, and that drama has nothing to do with any of what I'm talking about now. So please don't even think that anybody in Racing for Vets is like that. It's not like that at all. But certain things happened that just didn't register well with me. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to wait around for this. I'm going to go ahead and buy my own go-kart. I'm going to go my own way. And that's when everything came to an end. And it's just that, when you go through certain things in life, for some reason, either you will know how to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to kind of put this to the side and keep focusing on my goal, or you go the way I did, where all of these small incidents that were small in the bigger picture of life dragged me down. And I have had no motivation whatsoever to do anything. I went to this swap meet that happened earlier in February. I actually got to see one of my warrior brothers, as I call him, Luis Cabrero. I served with him in Iraq the second time around when I was a captain. And awesome dude. He came all the way from Kansas to Cleveland for some family-related stuff. And I got to spend the best 2 hours of my entire year in 2023 up to this point with him, and where we just kind of talked about the good days and all the awesome people that we got to serve with, just nothing but positive stuff. It was awesome. But that and the swap meet are the only outings I've had outside of my house since then. I've just stayed inside of my house. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't have the motivation to finish this, and it's all because my mind keeps operating in a way where it focuses on all these bad things that really I've had to convince myself to work out of, to say, you know what, no, you need to get past that. You have a thing to do. You have people who depend on you, and you need to focus on it. So I have this autopilot in me. Not to mention, I do get support from the VA. If you don't know what the VA is, it's Veterans Affairs, and it is for those of us who served honorably, and we get a certain benefit from the service that we did. And I'm happy and I'm thankful that I do continue to get it. On top of that, a very supportive wife. I have a very good system here of support with also my parents, and certain friends I still talk to that I serve with about certain things, but I don't tell them as much as I tell my wife and my mother and father about what it is that my mind's processing. So, the point of it all is that, I have been in this downward trend, but now because of that support system, I'm finally finding that motivation to get back up. And the whole point of this is that any one of you who is struggling, remember, there are people you can talk to. Don't ever think that you have to internalize everything and get to the point where I did once upon a time. Right now, this whole thing of not working on anything at all, even some other projects I've got going on, that's not so bad. There was a point in time where I wasn't even leaving the room for weeks at a time. Back in 2013 and 14, I was in a whole different world. I don't want to ever be there again. So if you are getting to that point where you don't have the motivation to come out of whatever it is that's bothering you, I'm telling you, all you got to do, and it's just a little bit, but all you got to do is one thing at a time. If you feel like you don't have anybody to talk to, come to me, and I will listen to you, and I will give you a path forward. And that's what I have. I'm lucky with it, but I know that there are many of you out there who sometimes find it difficult, especially when you're communicating with your own loved ones and you feel as if they're not listening to you. Don't give up. I have had that experience as well, of people who have lost because they felt like they didn't have anybody to talk to, and I don't want any one of you to go through that. It is a tough, fucked up world out there, but that does not mean that it is the end of everything, and I don't want anybody trying to think that they're taking an easy path by ending it all when they shouldn't, or by cutting themselves off from the world when they shouldn't. So this is more of a video of me just saying, look, mental health is important. You really need to watch out for yourself. Sometimes you are your only help, but you gotta do something. Not doing anything doesn't change the situation, but doing just a little bit at a time will change your situation. And that's really the bottom line of it. So take care of yourselves, and I will have a video right after this. I'm thinking of actually shaving before I do the rebuild video, but we'll see about that. But I really wanted to get this bottom line out, that I'm here for you. There are many other people out there for you. Just talk, just say something, because it's more important and valuable for me to know that you out there have someone to talk to. Anyway, guys, that is all I have. I know it was kind of long. I know it was maybe a little boring, but I think it needs to be said what I've said already. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you all at the next Apex. Bye-bye.